Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CPA Moms Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Kale,
Okay.
brand ambassador of CPA Mom. Today, I'm joined by Cindy, a powerhouse CPA and the founder of a rapidly growing firm. She fell in love with accounting way back in high school and just has never let go of that vision. She started preparing tax returns in college and quietly built a thriving side practice for years. She then made the bold decision to leave her full-time role in healthcare to build a business on her own terms, and she has added over 100 new clients every year since launching her practice. Cindy, I am so excited to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
If you could just start us off with a little bit about your journey. I mean, you said that you fell in love with it very early on and knew what you wanted to do, which is awesome because not everybody has that clarity. But then what did it look like at the beginning? What type of job? And just start us off with that.
Because I took my accounting one class my sophomore year in high school, and I love numbers, and I hit it off, and I was like, okay, this is my path. I want to be a CPA. So my parents' goals, my dad wanted me to be a secretary, and my mom's goals was a court reporter. And I'm like, okay, y'all don't have high enough goals for me. I don't want to do any of that. So I went college straight out of high school. I went to small college, UCO. It's actually UCO now is Central State University. But anyway, went to college and then started to sit for the CPA exam and wound up getting pregnant. I got married my last year of college. And so then we wound up having our first child. And I didn't really study. And that's when it was all one test. So you had like 5 parts, all within 2 or 3 days. I think it was 2.5 days. Never did pass the CPA exam at first. And I was like, okay. So then I had babies, had second baby, and moved on down the road, had jobs in manufacturing industry, kind of worked my way up. I was controller of a small oil and gas company for a little while. And then I went to another manufacturing company and worked there for a little while. And then went to another one where I traveled internationally, and that was interesting. Learned a lot at that job. And then got recruited into healthcare and was the assistant to a controller at a nonprofit healthcare here in Oklahoma City. And I really enjoyed the role, enjoyed the job. But my boss, it's nuts. But I couldn't handle it anymore. But I did side business, I started a side business. And at first I would do family and friends. And I basically did tax returns. You take me out to dinner. My husband and I would go to dinner and I do a tax return. And, at first I was charging like $45 a return. And this is back when there really wasn't the technology we have now. The internet, it just started. I mean, I'm old. So there wasn't exactly Stone Age where I was chopping rocks or anything, but it was I actually had one job right out of college where we had a manual accounts receivable system. So I had the little cards where everybody had their, individual balances, and I had to tie to the ledger. I mean, manually. It was interesting. So I'm old school. So we did things on paper. My first CPA I worked for in college, we literally would do the tax return on paper. And then we had one person that had a computer that would put it into the program and print it out. And then we had to make sure it matched what we came up with. So it's just such a different world than it is right now. But in 2020, I just had enough. My business was growing so fast, and I couldn't keep up. And I was working, I went part-time at work thinking that would help, but I was working 3 days. And so I was behind at work all the time. And then I was behind at home all the time. And I was just not working any fewer hours. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I was just like, I have the client base. I had enough PTO built up where I had some money. I had an uncle pass away a couple years ago before that left me a little bit of money. So I had some money, to fall back on. And I was just like, I've got to do it. So I did. And it's good that I did. I have a lot of family issues right now. My mom and aunt both have Alzheimer's. My husband has several health issues. I take them to their doctor's appointments. I take medication to my mom and my aunt. Whatever they need, I pretty much take care of them. My mom and aunt neither one are driving anymore for the safety of the world and themselves. Um, so it's really worked out well because I had been fired by now. All the times I take off to
Yeah.
go to doctor appointments and stuff like that. So it's worked out. I enjoy what I do. I have, expanded my client base, um, for bookkeeping and payroll and stuff like that, and then also taxes. So I'm never bored. My
Right.
first year, my first year, I remember there's one day where I could sit and read during the day. In like October and November, I remember taking a day going, oh, I don't have anything to do. I can sit here and read a book, and it's like, okay, it's kind of scary, but And with the pandemic, everything changed, the technology changed, the Zoom interviews, everything went virtual, and I wasn't prepared for that. That was a big change for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. So if we jump back then to when you did first start your career, did you have an expectation of what it would look like? Did you think that you would eventually go out on your own, or what did that look like for you?
I, I had the audacity to think that, straight out of college, I was going to get a job making $35,000, $40,000 a year, have free daycare for my kids, be recruited and be, this big important person. And yeah, I was making 725. I was being offered 725 a person because I had no experience. I had 4-year degree and 1 year experience with CPA. I had friends that had worked for 4 years and were making buku bucks, and I was real disappointed. My first job and even getting my first job was challenging. Um, and I actually got my first job by accident. I went to the wrong place. I went to my building, but this is back when you had a newspaper, before the internet, and went in the building and didn't realize what suite I was supposed to be in. And I just saw this name on the board and I thought, this be it. Go upstairs. He called me the next day and I went for the interview and got hired. Because it's like, only you could get a job applying at the wrong place. Never did go back and apply at the right place. But anyway, I thought I would be, CFO someday, work for a company. I never dreamed of going on my own. I never really aspired to do that. My thought was behind it was if I ever needed to, if something happened to my husband or my children, that I needed to be home, that this was something I could do. That was really my doing it on the side the way I was, building my base. And I really didn't intend to grow it as much as I did. It just kind of blew up. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm doing this.
Nice. And you mentioned as you were talking about your journey, a boss that maybe wasn't a real great boss. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I have found that there's a lot of that type of experience in accounting. So a little bit about that and then what that, I guess, taught you or gave you to be able to then continue in your journey and where you ended up.
I think everywhere where I've worked, it started out really great and then change of management and it wasn't anymore. I worked 3 to 7 years, at all my jobs pretty much. And every time I left, it was more or less because of us. It's like they changed their views. They changed. One kind of went crazy and was hitting on the staff, not me personally, but I worked with his wife. So it's like, okay, I can't really work here anymore because I know what you're doing, behind the scenes, and I can't look your wife in the face and answer questions for her. So I can't be here anymore. I just in the last one, she was very good to me. She's a very hateful person, a very negative person, and she pitted people against each other. And I
Mhm.
became negative, and I didn't realize it. So I had a friend that I didn't talk to for a couple of weeks, and I texted her, go, "Why haven't you texted me or checked on me or anything?" And then she made a comment about me being so negative, and it really clicked with me. And it's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize I had turned into that. And people tend to rub off on me, and I'm a pretty positive person most of the time. I really try to cheer people up, and I've had friends have big losses in their lives, and I've tried to cheer them up. And I had one of their mothers call me and go, "You need to go cry with her. She needs to cry more, and you quit trying to cheer her up. She's not going to cheer up." Uh, so I have to kind of set myself, straight around the environment I'm in, but 10 people rub off on me. And so I become negative. And like I say, I was just working so much and I just couldn't keep up anymore. And it's like I just had to choose either give up my practice I built or give up my job that I'm really not happy with. And I was supervising people and people don't always do what they're supposed to do. And then it's challenging because then I wind up doing their job or getting caught in the middle of, well, why aren't they doing their job? And it's like, well, I can't make people do, I can only make them do so much, it's like can't push them beyond their boundaries either.
Yeah.
So, and just had different views than she did on life in general.
Now, there are a lot of shifts that have to happen when going from being an employee to being a business owner. Some of them are, just shifting how you're doing things at home, how you're doing things at work. And a lot of them, probably the majority, at least for me, probably the most difficult ones were the mindset shifts that I had to go through. Can you talk a little bit about the mindset shifts that you had to go through? What stands out to you as some of the more difficult ones or just surprising ones even that you went through?
I had run my own business on the side for so long. I mean, I would get up in the morning to take my grandson. I was raising my grandson and took him to daycare. I'd go to work all day, pick him up, come home, make dinner, do the dishes, and sit, visit my husband for a few minutes, and then I'd go work. So I was used to working all the time, working nights, weekends. That's all I did. So really the mind shift was kind of, oh, hey, you can take a couple hours because you got all day tomorrow. So you can stay here tonight and watch the movie or the show that you want to watch because you'll be home all day tomorrow to work. And mine was really getting my husband on board because if he's home, he's watching Star Trek or something on TV, and then he's got stuff going on his phone, and it's loud and it's annoying. And he's a race fan, and I hate racing with a passion. So it's just like, okay, I'm trying to talk, and I have my phone on speakerphone this time I'm talking to people. So with that in the background, so I'm shutting my door, and then he's like, "Well, what are you doing for lunch?" It's like, I don't eat lunch. I'm home all day, so I just grab whatever. I just snack when I get hungry. I'll grab a boiled egg or something. I mean, I really don't, unless I have plans to go out with somebody. I don't eat lunch as a rule. I just don't. And it's like, well, can you go get me this? Can you go get me that? And it's like, that requires me getting dressed. I don't want to do. But it's like, okay, let me work until this time, and then I'll stop and we'll go eat. So it's really getting him on board and realizing just because I'm home doesn't mean I'm free to entertain you. I'm not going to go make your breakfast. You're here. You can make your own breakfast. You're an adult, and it's really trying to get him on board and him recognizing that this is a legitimate job for me, that this is what I do, and that I have to be available to my clients, that they're going to leave me if I don't answer my phone ever, or if I can't, have a phone call with them. Just because he's off doesn't mean I have to be. So that was more of the mind shift I had to make, getting myself motivated. I'm a self motivator, and I'm a go-getter, I guess. I don't know. I motivate myself. Mm, I, I'm wanting to draw a path. I want to be here. What do I need to do? When I finally decided I needed my CPA, I had to go get my master's degree because I didn't have enough accounting hours in my undergraduate. I got my master's, and then I started taking the CPA exam again and finally did pass it. But it took a long time. And I failed so many times. And I think even when I started studying the last company I worked for, the healthcare company actually paid for me to do the study materials and to take the test. I hid it from my husband. I'd wait. He'd get up early in the morning. He goes to work super early. So I'd get up after he got up and I'd start studying. And so I was raising my grandson. I had a 5-year-old grandson that I was raising, working full time, doing my part-time job, studying for the CPA exam. And finally, it got close enough. It's like, okay, I'm going to take it. And he wasn't real on board with it. He's like, you've never passed it. Well, thanks for the support. At some point I'm going to pass this. So finally, I passed the first part, and then passed the second, and the third one I failed. And then I was already studying for the fourth part. So I went ahead and passed it, and then went back and took the third one and passed it for me. So um, it was all okay. It just took me a long time, to really get on board and decide this is what I need to do. I need my CPA
Right.
exam. So
Well, congratulations. That's a big
thank you.
accomplishment. Now, what would you say was your biggest learning curve when running your firm?
Technology and learning all the COVID stuff and having to prioritize, because that's when the PPP and all this stuff, and you got to have your financials and you got to have your tax return done. And so, people jump in the line saying, I've got to have this so I can apply for this.
Yeah.
And, helping people understand what they need or what it is. And, the sole proprietors that would, well, I qualify for this. No, you don't, because you're the owner, so you don't qualify. Well, they said I did. Well, them, but they're wrong. I mean, and just having the confidence to tell my clients that they're wrong, or that no, that's not how that works, and trying to explain to people, it's really the technology, the Zoom and all the technology that's changed, and getting on board with it and understanding it. That's been my biggest challenge, is really the technological side. My son is an IT guru, so I have that. My oldest son, he's really a great help. Anytime I need anything, I had a computer crash back in 2018, and just like it was trying to update or do the normal security updates, and it just crashed. And I was like, oh my God, it was right before the October 15th deadline. I'm like freaking out, but he was able to retrieve what I needed him to, and get me set up on a new computer and all that. So he's been a godsend. But trying to help me understand, because I'm old, so I don't understand a lot of this technology that other people do that is just natural to them. So trying to understand the technology would be, I'd say, my biggest challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, technology is huge. And I mean, just to put it into perspective, you said when you started your career, like AR was manual, flipping through cards. That like
Right.
that's not a long period of time to go from that to what we are at now. So there is a
Exactly.
lot that has happened in that short amount of time. And that just, I mean, that's how it is too. Technology changes every day. As a firm owner, you can spend so much time, energy, and money on trying to keep up with the technology as it's coming out to keep your firm current. So that is definitely a huge learning curve, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes,
Now, what
for
would you
sure.
say are some of the systems that have helped the most in your business?
Um, I don't know. My tax software is great. I need to come up to the current century, I guess. I need a management system where people upload. I have a website. I did get a website a couple of years ago, and it has a portal, and that's really helped let people feel more secure about uploading to a portal than just emailing documents. And I need to get one system a management system that everything can go into. That's my goal for next year is to have one. So I'm going through emails, text messages, everything, trying to pull information, into the portal, trying to figure, okay, where did they send this to me? And it's all over the place. And I need to get one central system, that will everything is there. And either they can upload it, or if they send it to me a different source, I can scan it and upload it, and that way it's there, and then I can assign it. I need to hire people as well. And I don't I have a trust issue. I don't trust people, and with the information that we deal with, the name, social security number, dates of birth, bank information. That's not something you can just hire anybody off the street. You've got to trust this person, and you've got to know that they're not going to go do something. That would ruin my business. If somebody went and hacked a bank account, or sold somebody's information, or somehow their identity got stolen because of me, it would end me. I mean, it would end my job as I know it. So, um, I need to have a system. I'd like to have a system as I vision it, that when everything goes in one place, and I can assign it to people and say, okay, you do these returns, you do these returns, and you do this. So that's my goal, is by the end of the year to have that set up and in place, have a couple of people, at least one person hired, to help me, and get everything. But I don't really have good systems, I would say, in place. I'm just a mess. I just fly by the seat of my pants and figure it
I
out.
mean, I'm not gonna lie, entrepreneurship, a lot of that is just flying by your seat of your pants a lot
Yeah,
of the time.
exactly.
Lot of decision making. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you are the person. You have to make the decision. So
Right.
you're talking about hiring people. Well, that's a decision you have to make. And then a tech system. Well, that's a decision you have to make. So it's just constant decisions all over the place. How do you make decisions around pricing or growth, boundaries with clients, tech, employees, any of them?
That's another challenging thing, the boundaries. I send a letter out to my clients, and last year I didn't. My mom was in the hospital the last 3 weeks of the year, and I just didn't get the letter out. And a lot of clients are like, "Are you still doing taxes? I didn't get your letter." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just didn't get it done last year, but I did. I guess year before I did set office hours, but I don't stick to them. If somebody texts me 8 o'clock at night, if I can answer the question, I text them back. If I've got the computer shut down, or if I'm tired and I just don't feel like looking it up, I'll just say, this has to wait till morning. If it's an email, I just won't respond if it's not in the time frame that I want to respond it to. But I just make the decision based on my current mood. I mean, honestly, right now it's like whatever. I look at what's going on around me, and I look at I'm part of the firm influencers group on Facebook, and I have other Facebook groups and stuff like that. And so I kind of read, and I do a lot of research on things. People call me and ask me about stuff, and I don't know. So I look it up, Google it, and well, I researched that and I found this, and respond to them. So I do a lot of reading, a lot of research, continuing education, of course, and just kind of reading what other people are doing. So I just make my decisions based on, I know my clients pretty well. Most of them I've had for years. I've got new ones, obviously, but I've got some that I've had from the 1990s. They're still my clients, and I know them, and they're like family to me. I mean, and it's like I'm not, and I know who can and can't afford to pay. It's like keep saying I need to increase my prices. I'm probably one of the cheapest out there, least expensive. But I'm trying to raise my prices, and I, charge if I take on a client, I can look at what they paid last year. Um, so I don't really have a good pricing structure even. I need to get better at that and just set a pricing structure. But a lot of my clients that, I used to charge $45 when we first started. I've raised my prices obviously, but I try and keep in mind where they are in the world, what they do, what they can afford to pay and what their situation is. If they have a bunch of kids and they're all in school and with the pandemic or pandemic, but the tariffs and everything going on now, it's crazy. And I have too big of a heart, it's like people give me sob stories and I think, well, if you need a loaf of bread, do you go to the grocery store and get in that sob store and get your bread free? Why am I not important enough to go ahead and pay? I mean, I kind of feel like that sometimes, but I have a big heart and I kind of let people get away with things I probably shouldn't. But I'm not good at making, I'm good at making decisions, but it's based on basically current needs, current status, current mood most of the time. But I just look at what, for technology, for systems and stuff like that. I kind of look at what's out there, what other people are doing. I read and listen to what others are doing and kind of base my needs on that or base my wants, I guess, on that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a common thread there, right? You care. You care about the
Mhm.
people that you are serving and you want to show up for them
Yeah,
like that. And that is definitely a hard balance, right? Of especially as women and caretakers, like that's a lot of times just part of our character. And so we just want to help people as much as we can. And,
exactly.
the flip side of that is not doing it and martyring yourself. Or, you matter too. And so you need to know your value and be able to make a living at this service that you're providing. And that's a struggle for a lot of farm owners, honestly.
Right. True.
If a younger Cindy was listening to this podcast, what would you want her to hear?
You can do anything you set your mind to. Have confidence in yourself. You can do it. You just have to, set your mind to it and believe that you can do it. Believe in yourself, stand up for yourself, and don't let people run you over. I mean, do better. Do better. I mean, I'm a good person as a whole. I feel like I'm a good person and I do good things and I do want to help the world. I mean, I don't turn people away because I feel like they need help and I feel like I'm the only one in the world that can help and I've got to get over it, so get over yourself. You're not the only one out there that can help people. There are other accountants or other CPAs that are quite confident and probably better than you even. So just um, you know, don't doubt yourself. Just go with it. If you feel like you're not sure in what you're saying, look it up, do your research, but know that you can do it. Don't be afraid and just do it. Do what you need to do.
Right. All right. Well, to close this off, if you could just share one lesson that you've learned along the way.
People suck. People suck. People suck. There are great people in the world, but there are some people that are just out to take advantage, that do their own tax return and then they send it to you thinking you're going to get a different answer. And then you get the same answer and then they just ghost you and they file their own tax return. I mean, and it's like, why waste my time? If you're going to do your own return, do your own return. Don't get me involved. I don't want to do that. I mean, if they're honest with me and go, well, I got the same result and, it's an easy return. It's like, go ahead and file it, that's fine. But to just ghost me, it's just rude, you know? I don't know. I just think you just plug on. You just, do what you got to do. You're out there to help people. Um, just put one step in front of the other and make it happen.
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you joining me today for this.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
That's it for today's episode. At CPA Moms, we believe women can have a successful career and raise a happy family. If you are ready to embrace work-life harmony and connect with like-hearted women, join our CPA Moms Facebook community. Just click the link in the show notes or search CPA Moms on Facebook. We can't wait to welcome you. Until next time, thank you for being here. We see you, we believe in you, and we can't wait to grow with you.